some of the brightest, most awesome, wonderful minds coming up on stage, chatting about the wonderful, awesome, super special, super cool new token mechanic that was sort of dropped in THORChain recently, in the last 2 weeks ago, sort of taken the world by storm. I feel like I'm like doing a great job hyping this up so far. We have some really awesome people coming on stage today. The man, the myth, the legend, Aaluxx himself is here today with us, as well as a couple other folks. If you want to jump up on stage, this is an open forum, very low schedule, very low, not schedule, very low expectations. This is supposed to be ask all your questions, get all the information you should ever want, ever about TCY, how to use it, how to get involved, how to sell, how to buy, how to start earning, what the heck is TCY, how the heck you can use it, and what we should be excited for in the THORChain ecosystem in general. Because regardless of like your opinions on how TCY like exists in the ecosystem, it's really remarkable that a decentralized multi-chain protocol, right, was able to overcome something super like major as it was, right, and come up with a creative solution independently sourced from contributors all around the world, and make it happen and make it come into fruition. So regardless of that, we are here to celebrate that. So joining us on stage today, we have our wonderful intern, who of course is here to vibe out. We have Tim, our head of product. We have Aaluxx on stage right now, the man who proposed and sort of helped with the implementation, getting that across the line. And again, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, drop them in the chat. Share this space with your friends. Ask any questions in the stage chat below, and we will get them answered. And this is a really great opportunity for you to sort of, get those questions answered, share some of the thoughts you might have, and we will kick things off. So I did a brief introduction, but I'll just go around the table. I guess we'll start with Aaluxx, the man of the hour. GM, give a little intro about who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's hear it.
Hello, guys. Aaluxx here, co-founder of Maya Protocol. Maya Protocol is a fork of THORChain, so also just doing cross-chain swaps. We integrate a different set of chains than THORChain. So we do share BTC and ETH, but besides that, we have just a whole different set of chains, essentially enabling THORChain technology to go further. So we've been involved in the space for 4 years now, and we our mission was always to be redundancy to THORChain, and that mission only matters if THORChain is around. So when THORChain was distressed at the beginning of the year, we stepped in, wrote Proposal 6 that essentially proposed the creation of TCY as a method to bail out affected users, and got to work on implementing it. Took us 3 months between development and testing. As you rightly said, we are live since 2 weeks ago, and so far so good. Good stats, good growth, accomplishing what it set out to do. So we're pretty happy with the result and hoping that this is the first step of restoring THORChain to its former glory and then some. So pretty excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here. And actually, just as a follow-up question, like what percentage of TCY has been claimed? I think it was like 60% or something. Last I saw, I've been out for the space for a while.
Yeah, 66%. So
Heck yeah, that's big.
66% of the affected user balance has gone and said, "We agree with this plan. This is fair. I'm claiming, and I'm mostly holding TCY. Like there's been pretty little selling. People are looking for THORChain to grow back, and I think it makes sense. Most of the people involved on the THORChain economy, THORFi, and so forth, uh, they're here not just because of the money. There is something that THORChain and cross-chain dexes are setting out to do, which is make the decentralized rails and permissionless swaps for Bitcoin and all the rest of the amazing tokens in the crypto sphere. So it's not only like many people knew what THORFi was, knew there were risks to it, participated, and are now looking forward to supporting THORChain in this new way, which is holding TCY and keeping supporting the ecosystem.
Hell yeah, that is awesome. There we go. Cool. Heck yeah, that is awesome. I guess Tim, you're the other speaker here. Let's hear a little bit from you, like who you are, what you do, why you're here today, and sort of we can start kicking things off.
Hello, THORChads and ShapeShift fam, which seems to be most of the folks in the audience. I am the product lead or head of product, I guess, depending on whoever's introing at ShapeShift DAO. We're responsible for spearheading all the things and trying to not piss our engineers off, which we are very graciously joined by a few of them. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. Um, as well as listening to community inputs, doing all the like busy work to keep product rolling along and not get mired down in some of the early the early parts. ShapeShift DAO is actually 4 this July, right? I think along those
Yeah,
lines.
because 2021, yeah, it's 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been here for 2 years actually. In April was my second anniversary, which is pretty sweet. I think we're definitely on an uptrend. We've been through like the bear market battle. Although I would say that TCY has definitely been like one of the biggest redemption arcs I've seen in crypto. Like to be honest, like came out at the 11th hour and solved all the problems that were plaguing the THORFi situation, which we coming from the MakerDAO ecosystem, I was excited to see a little bit of like lending stuff that we were able to launch, but in the due diligence should have been a little bit more clear of the risks. Luckily, though, like I think this is going to bring everybody whole on whatever timeline they see. And apparently, there's a premium now. Like the token is trading and going well, which is wild. So yeah, it's really encouraging to see where everything is going. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm stoked to be here. We're really glad to be joined by you, Alex. We're actually looking into integrating Maya Chain, as you know, from our Discord, but it's a little alpha for everybody else here. So super excited to see where the multi-chain future takes us. Um, and then I guess I have a question. Am I allowed to just like float those out there or what?
Yeah, this is open
Let's
forum. I have a list of
go.
questions on my end, but if you want to just keep it rolling, let's do it.
Yeah, so I would imagine prop 6, right? That was the actual proposal number to bring it up, right, Alex? Like, did that come out of a vacuum, or were you literally on calls for like 3 days straight to figure this thing out? Like, what was the sort of collaborative look there to bringing that to fruition?
We could wait for Alex to come back, maybe kick him and come back. Yeah, there he's going to take a lap. I guess maybe Tim, you
Yeah,
can give a
fair
little
enough.
context on THORFi in the meantime while we bring Alex back up on stage. Like there's a couple different products, right? That THORFi brought forward. What were those?
Yes. Synth savers and lending, right? I think probably the most famous thing that got out there was lending. Lending would allow you to essentially borrow in a stable
One, two,
coin and
three.
on an ETH. Hey, there he is.
There we
Um,
go.
we can come back to how that went and how that brought us there, but I was
Oh,
more curious
yeah.
about
Yes. Sorry
where
about that.
no
Yeah.
worries, man. I was just curious where TCY came from and the whole collaborative story of bringing it back at the 11th hour.
Yeah, for sure. So, essentially reading all the proposals they came, kind of looking at the bits of it, with each other proposals. I with each of them that I was kind of like stating clearly to each, but there were the authors. I spoke with Nyrums as well, and yeah, I just hadn't solved yet really in my head how it could work. Like I did some of the ideas I made it into prop 6. I did have them earlier, but it had to all fit like in a picture. In a vacuum, it was each kind of an okay idea, but not really a solution. So I actually kept talking to node operators, LPs, authors, and then heard that JP was actually in Mexico. So drove out 5 hours to meet, and that chat happened uh, over dinner, and we talked a lot about everything going on, and it became clear that yes, THORChain is in a dire situation, but yes, there's also a buttload of people that care. And I think that's the most important thing that brought THORChain back. That and its monster cash flows. So many people care. So next day in the morning, I wake up there in wherever we were in Mexico, and we start seeing the nodes exiting. All the last meltdown that happened, RUNE shooting down to $1, and I started driving to my sister's place in Mexico City, another 5-hour drive. an old drive, I was just thinking about everything, and read one last proposal that Pedro from Thor Wallet, CryptoXZ, wrote, and there was a missing piece there that kind of brought it all together for me. Started kind of writing while I was driving on the highway. Honestly, it was pretty funny on the Maya Discord. You can follow that legendary chat with others, and yeah, got to Mexico City, actually to the hospital because my sister was giving birth, and wrote the proposal in the hospital in like 30 minutes, published it, and started sending it all over. Anytime I got some feedback, I immediately went, if it made sense, and put it into the proposal. And yeah, that night I ended up connecting with like spaces, talking with like 3 innovators into Jen and convincing that was a bit ago. And his proposal, there was that proposal, and yeah, less than 10 hours to publish the proposal had been accepted by 60% consensus. So yeah, it was I couldn't until it passed, and then it was like 4 in the morning, and then the next day we realized now we had a big job to actually take to fruition. So I actually ended up meeting with TCB for 3 days in Guadalajara, working the details with Orion. I probably have had more calls than with anyone else.
Did it cut out for everyone else, or was it just me? I had to make sure.
Nope. Yeah. No, rugged again.
Rugged. Classic Musk. That's crazy. Like writing the proposal and going to go to your sister giving birth and
About to
like
become
doing
an
that, and
uncle.
like that's crazy, dude. That's some like deep lore. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm just gonna have to tweet that little call summary in there under the the banner, just so it's there for the lore. Because yeah, that's an incredible effort for a community that's that active, which is really cool. But yeah, bummer the internet kind of rugged some of that detail, but the rest of it's legendary anyway, so it's super cool.
That's nuts. That's absolutely crazy. I feel like TCY is like super close to functionality similar to how Maya works for Maya protocol, which is like I don't know if that's like a totally unfair comparison, but at least in my mind, I was like, oh, it's like Maya. It's like a sort of fair drop to people impacted. TCY. I don't to Thorify. I don't know how accurate that is. Maybe Alex probably will correct me. But I thought that was a really interesting comparison.
Yeah, I mean, well, built-in revenue share is a pretty compelling reason to hold on to something, let alone use the underlying thing. I mean, Alex is mentioning the cash flows on THORChain. Realistically, that's sort of the undergirded value for TCY in the first place, right? Like, it's 10% in perpetuity. I guess node operators could probably change it theoretically. There was actually a THORChain retreat in like January that I had the pleasure of attending for a few days. And pretty much all the conversation was the proto versions of where this all ended up, community style in the first place on TCY. So we'll see where that goes, but for right now, it's really good to know that people are claiming and staking and being a part in like this change in the network. I think that that's really, really healthy and really positive. And we were actually pretty stoked to get it out pretty much on launch day when it was ready at the network level. So stoked.
All right, you're
The
back,
legend has
Alex.
returned.
He's back.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you go good.
No, I couldn't listen well because I was connecting and reconnecting and stuff like that. So catch me up.
Oh, I guess while you were gone, we were just commenting on how badass it was that you became an uncle, basically the the same day that you posted the proposal, and then I made a comparison between TCY and the Maya token, which I thought was like somewhat similar, but I would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah,
Just functionally how they exist.
TCY was essentially take two on Maya. So there's actually a few things that will improve back on Maya protocol as to the Maya token from our learnings, because yeah, we learned a lot redoing. It's like, yeah, getting a second shot. It was just lots of fun. So yeah, there will be there's a few advantages there with TCY in that because of how we could plan the tokenomics from the beginning. There's these sources of buy pressure. That's something we will probably not be able to replicate as well on the Maya token. It's too late now. But besides that, there's a few things coming on for Maya token. I won't spoil it all, but there will definitely be a pool soon. Yeah, right now it's pretty liquid, which of course is an issue for investors. But with the pool coming online, it's gonna get fun. So yeah.
So I guess what I'm hearing, just to summarize the improvements of TCY over Maya, was the like instant liquidity, sort of like the social hype, and then also like the planning of tokenomics going into it and having a plan moving forward. Or is that to summarize it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Here, there's a few sources of buy pressure to the TCY token. First, you have the TCY RUNE pool fees. So they don't go to the LP of the pool; they go to buyback Maya. Buyback TCY and keep it for protocol owned. That's something we would be able to replicate on Maya. But then also, we have all of the unclaimed TCY yield, and that unclaimed TCY yield also goes to buy back TCY for the protocol. And there's also unstaked TCY. Well, that yield also goes and buys back TCY for the protocol. And then there's also pool TCY, the TCY that's actually the balance in the pool, that's also used to buy back more TCY. And all of these sources make it such that the protocol owns a TCY. It's already, I think, 400,000 TCY. Well, the yield of that also every day goes and buys back more TCY. So it's essentially like a buyback and burn, but better because it's like buyback and accumulate. Next day, it's a little bit more, and it owns a little bit more, and then it owns a little bit more, and it will just indiscriminately, regardless of price, just keep buying up TCY every single day, which is pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
freaking awesome.
buyback and accumulate is much a better model. I think, yeah, speaking from experience and just from like, staring at the space in general, like burning just provides just less benefit than it ever really seems. Sadly, which is it's a bummer. I think the only way burning systems actually function is if like there are no humans that can touch it.
Yeah.
It's the inherent thing is to like um, have loss aversion or want to distribute it or need to fine tune it or deal with the fact that situations change. And I think like rigid economic systems with like a burn element, just like they
Yeah.
just fall apart. It's a shame. Definitely voted to turn off a burn once for $1 billion protocol. That was fun. So yeah, I think that's the right mechanic for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's held up so well. There's these source of buy pressure. It's all real yield. THORChain keeps chugging along swaps and income, and we all know it's gonna. It has a big likelihood of growing further and expanding, given XRP launch, Solana launch, app layer, and everything else that's coming online. So between that, the buy pressure, it's amazing comeback story. I think it's just a cool token to hold and a cool token to participate in, and it's a nice way to get exposed to RUNE volumes over the long run. If you believe that THORChain will keep expanding, um, you have nodes, of course. The APY on nodes is a little bit higher, but you have the slashing risk. You have to pay operator fees, or if you're going to operate it yourself, then pay infrastructure and an operator. Um, it's locked until you're churned out. You get paid. Uh, it's auto compounded, so you really just get paid whenever you end up leaving the node set. So it has all of these set of difficulties, which is why, like Tim mentioned earlier, TCY is trading at a premium. It has a lower APY. That essentially means that people are willing to pay a higher price for it, even if it's paying the same amount. So yeah, it's why we've seen multiples between 20 and 30x. And that essentially means if THORChain just goes up 2, 3x, three, more like three, in volumes and swap fees, which is not a lot. We've been there. THORChain's been at the $500 million swap volume every day before. If we're back to those levels, that essentially means TCY is at $1, and everyone was made whole in like record time. And like we have to compare with TradeFi. What happens in TradeFi? Well, look at Celsius, look at FTX, look at all of those failed companies in the crypto sphere, but also beyond. A bankruptcy proceeding takes years, 3 to 10 years. I know because my brother-in-law is actually a bankruptcy lawyer. You're going to pay a shitload of lawyer fees and other stuff related to it. You're going to have a huge opportunity cost throughout those years, and at the end, after you've deducted the lawyer costs, you'll end up 30-50 cents perhaps. The fact that we've been able to reach these in the first few weeks of launching with zero coordination, with like zero regulation, is just the ecosystem coming together to look out for each other, um, and achieve these. No hassle, no legal fees, no wait, just 3 months wait. It's pretty incredible. So we're really kicking TradeFi in the ass with this, and just making an amazing example of how the free market can actually take care of itself, and it doesn't really need daddy powerful to take care of us. We can do it ourselves. Thanks.
What you said really resonated with me. I think Tim shot me a message. He's like, "Dang, Aaluxx is making the H pain justification for why buying TCY." Yeah, exact same with the exact same stuff that you just said, right? I don't have enough RUNE to stake to a node. I don't want to run my own infrastructure. That's a lot of work. Like, it's so much easier for me to go and buy a smaller bag of TCY, right, and then stake it and call it a day, right, and still feel good that I can support, an ecosystem that I believe in strongly, that I use, right, that I have conviction in, and that has like stuff on the horizon, like the app layer, like Rujira. And I guess speaking of, right, like what is some like alpha that like could potentially lead to some of these like increases in volume? Like, we're thinking Rujira is the app layer is gonna increase some of those volumes. Like, what are you most excited for moving forward to help increase volumes on THORChain, or drive things forward into the future?
When you're working in an ecosystem with so much substance, you don't really need to look for these like moonshot culprit of what's going to take us the next level. It's just all the little things. It's all the grinding that's taking place behind the scenes. I joined since Prop 6, we've been joining the engineering calls on THORChain. There's like 8 teams building here. You've got Silence Lab, Strange Lab, uh, THORChain Core, Nine Realms, us at Maya, the guys over from Rujira. So many teams around Rujira. There's just so many great and brilliant minds working every day on these. So I could tell you the next big things, but that's not what excites me the most. What excites me the most is the where we're gonna be if all of these guys are just grinding away at code for 2 years straight. That's what excites me. Yeah, you got XRP, Solana, Rujira, 2-second block times. That's going to make us more capital efficient and thus be able to raise more fee revenue. So, there's so many concrete examples too. But what about what we haven't even yet came up with? That's going to come. That's what makes me excited. And there's rarely been so much alignment. Like, we were so close to the edge. People know we you saw the face of death, and we all said no. And I think there's like an energy that there wasn't there before. THORChain has always been hardcore, but not this hardcore. So that's that's what pumps me up. And yeah, every Thursday engineering call, super energy boost.
And that's inside the THORChain Discord. I'm assuming discord.gg/THORChain.
No, those engineering calls are like more coordination for teams for merging and what's coming forward. So they're just a video call among people that are actively building and pumping out code. Yeah, more weekly updates of what's going on. Those do happen on Discord and X.
Hell yeah. And that's something actually I really appreciate about THORChain and everyone really in the THORChain ecosystem is it's just a super tight cabal of, or not cabal, but community, right? Of people who actually who ship code, who are truly in the ethos of privacy, multi-chain, decentralized, permissionless finance, right? That's super aligned with what I believe in, right? That's why I'm here with ShapeShift. That's why I'm here in crypto in general. And it's actually inspired me to start coding, right? I granted, I'm not on the level of probably anyone else here up on stage speaking, but it's really is an inspiration to seeing so many people just like push through adversity to go and build something that like takes a hard pivot into the right direction and just really unites everyone. It's been very, very, very inspiring. So I see we have a couple other people on stage. We have what is it with the something with the Coke, Coca-Cola. I'm assuming. Yeah, there we go. Little bottles of Coca-Cola. Hey, good morning, GM.
Hey, it's late night for me. It's 11 p.m. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so maybe it's a little bit downer, but I'm super glad with the TCY launch. I'm super glad with Aaluxx with the Prop 6. Amazing job. Amazing job, everybody who has chipped in for this. And as always, like as Patriot has said, like maybe I'm too bullish. Help me, like contradict myself or like something bad. And there was like, just one glimpse of a sentence that I caught from Alex that I wanna ask. So you said 66% have agreed with the TCY plan and have reclaimed the tokens. How? Let's say I am not. I don't have any TCY to claim. But let's say I am against this proposal. What can I do? How can I go forward? Like if I'm against the plan for the TCY and the proposal 6.
Come again. Sorry.
So my question, my question was like, also the TCY has been big success. I like it. Everybody loves it. But you mentioned like 66% has claimed the TCY and agreed with the plan, or so to speak, with the plan. But let's say there's somebody who's not happy. We know we have the Crypto Italia who's been vocal against the THORChain ecosystem. I'm just being the devil's advocate, like who's against this. And
So something important. Nothing has been taken away from affected users. They've just gained. The pooled assets, the scenes reserve assets, which is all of these exogenous THORChain assets that were in the pools, they're still there. I was very strict about not touching them. And there was often, calls for, oh, let's give 1/3 back to the LPs, or why don't we just zero out the scenes reserve, or why don't we do this or that? I was very clear. We cannot touch that. Why? Because there will be dissent, and we don't know how big it is. And it could be big. We don't know. So that dissent will come in some shape or form, some sort of organization. There can be further proposals moving forward of what to do with it, or there could be calls from people that say those assets there, those correspond to me. Now, obviously, we get TCY to $1; those die down pretty quickly, and that's kind of where I'm laser focused at, because you can always play the zero sum game. If I take there's $1 in TC, I can either give it to you or give it to somebody else. In either case, only one person got and the other person lost. So people get focused so short term on a fixed pie and how to split it that they're uh, totally blind to where they can be in the long run. And I was speaking with Leodex a few weeks back, right before the TCY launch, and I was speaking exactly about this because it frustrates me a lot. We are in a sinking ship, right? And thankfully it's no longer actively sinking, we're actually moving now, but we were on a sinking ship. And you might think the captain is to blame, or you might think that it's unfair that you're not enjoying your vacation in your little cruise. But dude, right now, up and get to work. We need some people to uh, throw water overboard, some people to make the ship lighter, some people to patch whatever the water's coming in through, some people to steer the ship, some people to help people that are injured or panicked or whatever. And there's some people just looking for whom to blame or complaining how unfair their life is. Dude, once we get to, to port, go and do whatever the hell you want. But right now we're laser focused on getting out of the hole. And that getting out of the hole is requiring a lot of brilliant minds that are not out there to fuck you. Nobody stole from you. THORFi was pretty clear from the start what the risks were. There were reports paid by 9 realms published of saying, look, there is a big risk that if RUNE goes down 5 or 10x in ratio against BTC, it's going to get complicated. And people bet on the opposite outcome, and they lost. Look, if the other thing would have happened and RUNE went to $30, and those that bet on it had so much money, were they going to come back and say, look, thank you, this is your responsibility, here's some money back? No, they would have taken it and said, I'm so smart. They lost the bet. And it's like, I'm not saying the protocol is not responsible or the devs. I wasn't here, by the way, guys. I'm new here. I was building the Maya protocol, a competitor. But the shit hit the fan. You can either use your agency to help fix it, or you can just point fingers. The second one is honestly useless. So yes, people can dissent, but where are their plans? Where are their proposals that are better than TCY? Where are their ideas to make everybody whole? They're just like, no, give me back what I think I'm entitled to. That's not gonna get you anywhere in life. So yeah, we get through life progressing, not splitting hairs.
Yeah, absolutely. I just kind of snagged from your sentence that there was 66% who are happy and the others are not. So what's their options? But I
Do
totally
keep
agree. I totally
keep
agree
in
what
mind,
you said
out, out, yeah,
that
out of
that
out of the
so
100%, 66% have claimed, but a
yeah.
non-zero amount, which I believe sits around 10 to 20%, are actually dead keys. People
Yeah,
that open a savers position or a THORFi loan and they forgot their keys, they lost them, they whatever it is, maybe they themselves died. So those all of those dead keys are actually never going to claim. And so I actually do think that, and then there's another amount of people that don't even know THORFi collapsed. And they'll find out someday, maybe in a year, maybe 2 years from now, and they'll come back and they'll claim. So actually, these centers is such a small percentage, they're just so loud. And we tend to give them so much weight where, just drown the noise and get to work. That would be my suggestion. But yeah, there's definitely forums to this end. There's this Discord, there's X, there's so many avenues to propose different things, or uh, yeah, uh, run a node and start voting somehow different. But in the end, this is a self-governed, permissionless protocol, and that's what it's going to remain being. And when people gave their money to a loan or to savers, they accepted the node's authority over the matter. They in the end, THORChain is a chain, and the chain is run by nodes. This has always been pretty clear. People saying, "Oh, we didn't know nodes could do this or that." Guys, nodes are all powerful in any chain. Bitcoin had an infinite mint bug that was rolled back. Like, yeah, it's just it's still uh, impressing for me. So many people want to keep acting like blockchain is TradeFi. It's not.
yeah, absolutely not. I absolutely love your answer. It lines my vision as well. I just had to ask it since it kind of
Yeah,
works.
all good, all good. I know you're being the devil's advocate. No worries.
Yeah, I had to ask, and that I because there was like just like yesterday another news piece was news fluff, or there's like a court against a case against THORFi and stuff and this and that, and I was like, first of all, for me as well, like the so in some case the code is law, and I was like, who are you going to like going against are you going against the nodes who publish the THORify? Are you going against the nodes that stop the synths and everything and the pools? Like, who are you going to go against? And especially when you put your money in the protocol, you have to accept all the risks. You have to accept the code risk. You have to accept what if the BTC RUNE diverge and the price goes really bad. You have to accept the risk of the nodes, as you mentioned. They're actually the king in the ecosystem. They can do whatever they want. So yeah, good answer. I like the answer. So what can I say? Really well done. Everything you did for the THORChain ecosystem. You're the legend.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Happy to have you on board, sir.
Sweet, cool. Thanks for coming up and sharing and asking those questions. I had another question from PK Spin, and his question or their question was: after buying TCY, does it need to be manually staked or is it automated by just holding? Thank you. And I guess my take on that is you need to manually stake it. Otherwise, and I guess Alex, you mentioned this earlier, if you don't stake it, the yield that you would have earned goes to buying back TCY, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Now, importantly, if you were an affected user and you claimed, the process of claiming automatically staked it for you. So we really want to make sure, if you're a person that lost $100, you're paying this gas fee that to do the claiming, that it went directly into start to make money for you, and then to unstake it, you need to pay gas. Now, if you purchased it by swapping, that's on stake TCY there. So if you purchase it, you do need to make sure you go and stake it. Now, rewards are paid daily, so it doesn't matter at what time of the day you staked, so long as it's before the payout block, you're getting paid for the full day. So don't really rush it. And if you miss one payout, it's still a small amount in the big realms of things. So just wait for the next day. And yeah, most UIs already support staking and unstaking. I know ShapeShift does. So you can just go to your favorite old-timer wallet, ShapeShift, and do all of these actions. It will be pretty clear how to do so in their interface.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. And I guess if you guys check out in the comments below, one of our engineering workstream leaders on the call today, listening in the audience, Apotheosis, posted, we just added a live RUNE rewards for TCY staking positions inside of ShapeShift. So you can track how much RUNE you've actually accumulated through staking your TCY, which is really cool. Like, as someone who, again, would like to know how much they're earning based on what they're staking, really, really powerful tool if you aren't currently, tracking that information. So yeah, that's super, super great. Thank you for the clarification, Alex. I guess, question. So you mentioned other ways that people could use TCY. You mentioned there's like liquidity pools. So like a TCY RUNE liquidity pool people can stake into. The TCY that's staked inside of that pool or added in that pool and paired with RUNE is unstaked TCY. So that would not be earning, they wouldn't be double earning swap fees plus TCY earnings, right?
It won't be earning either, because the TCY RUNE pool fees also go to purchase protocol owned TCY. It makes absolutely no sense to add LP to the TCY RUNE pool unless it's done altruistically. And we do it this way because we really want to keep the TCY RUNE pool shallow for reducing reflexivity. We don't want a very deep, huge TCY pool because RUNE is valued according to its TVL. So if TCY grows, RUNE's TVL grows. And then TCY is valued according to RUNE's economic activity. So if RUNE grows, TCY grows. So if you actually make that pool pretty deep, it actually starts looking a lot like THORFi, like this kind of very reflexive, very volatile effect. So we don't want that. We want it as little as possible. And it also makes sure, by being this shallow, that there has to be an orderly entering and exiting of positions, which is something you desire. You don't really want this kind of like huge thing that's kind of moving all its weight around. You want it to be more subtle. So that's why we decided to not give the fees to LPs. Thus, anybody can LP, but so far nobody hasn't because there's just no economic incentive to it. It is already deep enough, though. It's not like it's like a shallow little thing. It's still like $1.5 million. It's just not made to be humongous. You can stream in and out of it, so it does seem a little bit deeper than just 1.5, and that's just more than enough.
Thanks for the nuance. That's some really good flavored context. I really appreciate that. We have up on stage, and again, if you're listening and you're new to this call, this is sort of an open forum to chat a little about TCY. Aaluxx is here on stage, ask all the questions you want in the comments. If you don't want to jump on stage, that's totally fine. We have Rob on stage. With GM Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate the hosting of this call, and especially your work, Aaluxx. Just phenomenal work, and you really did ride to the rescue, and I mean that very sincerely. So I wanted to start by expressing my gratitude on behalf of myself and my family. Thanks again. Could you? I'll also add that I'm a Celsius creditor, so I guess you could say I'm a yield sucker, and I felt like I got taken a second time as I put money into savers, and just a few weeks later I felt a little bit rugged. I know, as you said, we're trying to save the sinking ship, and thanks to your contributions, I do think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's millions and millions of dollars less in attorney's fees. So that's a huge win as the Celsius fight continues to drag on. Could you elaborate a little bit on what you think the final months or years of TCY will look like? Seemed like a half-hearted trial balloon that went out from one of the TCY affiliated or THORChain affiliated members that seemed like they were calling into question how perpetual the TCI payouts would operate. And I know you've come out and said that you anticipate it will trade in excess of $1 for some period of time before the protocol will own everything and then basically close it out. But as you've connected with other people, what do you think the final stages of TCY really look like? Thanks again for hosting this.
First, thank you for your kind words. And so I think there's some fundamental misunderstanding. The person THORChain that came said that they were getting back the rope after out. And they were back to it, but there was some misunderstanding nature of TCY. I had to properly retire it. Now, never fully retired out. There will always be people holding TCY for the existence of THORChain, because we cannot and will not appropriate it. The only way that TCY can be properly retired in some amount is through fairly purchasing it, which is what the protocol is already daily doing. So what the protocol will keep doing is just buying it. And at some point, 5 to 10 years from now, between death keys and what it's purchased, I expect it.
Oh, I think we lost you, Aaluxx. It was like, is the ultimate rug. I think we expect, and then silence.
Yeah. I was closing apps on my phone. Like, is this me? So I'm glad it's not just me.
I have the same thing.
I'm relieved at that answer. Yeah, thank you.
Looks like he's going to take a lap. I guess, did you have any other questions that you wanted to chat through?
Well, I just want to. No, I think I appreciate that answer. I think as potential non-creditors, if you're back.
Oh, great.
As potential non-creditors evaluate investing in TCY, I think that clarity, the perpetual nature, and so is especially important to highlight that how long this is going to run. So I think in our messaging, as we try to bring recovery and attract new money into TCY, that reassurance is especially important. And speaking from a unified voice will be paramount.
Correct.
So go ahead with your your answer. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think messaging since then has been pretty unified. It was just a small blip. I actually connected immediately over a phone call, and it was a tense video call. It took a little bit of time, but they came around. But essentially, if you say, like, look, I'm deciding to buy 10% of TCY today, that gives me 1% of the protocol swap fees, right? If you go and purchase it and hold it and never sell it, you're keeping that percentage of swap fees. Nobody can take it from you. Just the protocol will keep buying TCY, and the price might go at a point where you're willing to sell it. But if it never does and you want to hold that shit, go ahead. Now, at some point, again, like I was saying, it will accumulate such an amount that we can burn it along with those swap fees. But if you notice, your swap fees are not being diluted. If you got 1% before the burn, you're still getting 1% after. That didn't change because there's less float and also less percentage going out to the total float. In those cancel each other out. You still get your fixed 1% of the swap fees. So this is the proper way to retire most of the swap fees paid out to TCY. I expect 5 to 7%, and then at that point, the 3 to 5% left. That's just for the long haul.
Don't you think that there's always node operator risk, though, that at some point 5-10 years ago into the future, as you say, that node operators could vote and say, we're going to suspend, like we made everyone's whole by now, it trades over $1, we're going to redirect these fees elsewhere.
Look,
like how do we address that risk?
It cannot be addressed. That's the first part. The nodes of any given blockchain are the kings of that given blockchain, and the nodes that will keep churning. Right, we don't have any idea who the nodes will be 5 to 10 years from now. They might have some commonality with today's set, but that will change. Now, there's several reasons that are going out for you. First off is there's the reputational risk. The nodes wouldn't do that, especially if they're earning. And remember, these guys have a buttload of RUNE. Why would they kind of shoot themselves in the foot? The second part is just financial. Let's say TCY is trading at $2 by then. That's $420 million. If they go and say, look, we're not paying these anymore, you have the same THORFi problem just 10 years from now. You have $400 million of affected users, because we cannot say, look, it traded at $2, then you 2x'd. No, we have no idea. You maybe purchased TCY yesterday before you knew the news broke out. So it makes no sense. It makes 0 sense for nodes to do it. Can they do it? Yeah, they can. We cannot protect against that risk. Does it ever make sense to do it? Not really, especially if we make this information clear. Now, the third thing going out for you is I can tell you most operators I know hold some TCY today. Why? Because it's their bag that's exposed to what they want, which is RUNE volumes, but it's the rainy day fund. If they really need some funds, the RUNE bonds, those are there for the long haul. The TCY, they can sell it. So most people in the ecosystem, those LPs, developers, the nodes themselves, everybody else, everybody will own TCY. This is no longer the case that only the affected users had it. That was the case 2 weeks ago when we started, but not today. And as we go forward in time, 3 to 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people will always have a healthy bag of RUNE and TCY. TCY will be a huge asset in Rujira that will be tied up in loans, in TVL, in order books, in perps, as collateral. You cannot plug it out. You can't. It's like the U.S. Could the U.S. say, look, I'm not, the dollars are a liability to the U.S. If you come with $1, they have to be able to give you something back. It's no longer gold, as we all know. That's why we're in crypto. But the only thing backing the dollar is the U.S. saying this is worth something, and you can pay me with that, right? It makes no sense for them to do it. You lose all of your economic activity. You lose all your reputation. You now have this huge pile of moral debt, and people pissed off at you. Could they do it? Yes. The U.S. is sovereign in the United States and with their dollars, just like THORChain nodes are sovereign in THORChain protocol. That will always be a reality.
Right. I think that's a great comparison, and I think like this type of messaging is really important to attract new investments. So I appreciate your continued efforts to put it out there. Could you, before I step down from the stage, maybe highlight a little bit about the efforts around auto compounding, where I think that's an important development. I don't think that that's live yet, but I've been trying to keep my eye out for it. Thanks for taking my questions, and thanks ShapeShift for hosting the call.
Sure, thank you. So we're looking to have, out to Rujira, which is the team behind this, which we've been working closely with, are looking to have that out by version 3.7.0. For reference, V3.6.0 is going out today or tomorrow to THORChain mainnet. So we're talking a few weeks out. But once that's out, essentially what you would do is you send the TCY to the smart contract and it sends you back sTCY. And that sTCY is a non-rebasing token that's getting exposure to the yield. So if the yield is 4% average throughout the year, and 1 year from now you give back your one sTCY to the smart contract, you're gonna get 1.04 TCY back, real TCY. So this is a way want to just have this be an APY instead of APR, and you believe TCY will grow, and you want to kind of like double down on that bet, you can enter this smart contract. Now, importantly, this will also be mainly the way TCY interacts with Ruggira, because the problem is if you put TCY in an order book, right? Well, the order book is getting your RUNE, the order book contract, and you don't want that. And now your TCY is sitting there gathering dust, and you're not getting your RUNE yield. So a much better way to do it is go change TCY to sTCY, take that sTCY, place it in the order book. Now, while it's waiting to get fulfilled, you're actually getting it be worth more over time. So it will make it more likely that your price is reached sooner, for example. But this will be the case again also for perps, for taking collateralized loans or whatever on Ruggira. So sTCY will be the kind of the flagship TCY version in the Ruggira app layer. Now, what this means for anyone holding TCY, not only the ones in Auto Compound, is this is yet again another source of buy pressure to TCY, because every day when the TCY Auto Compound contract gets paid RUNE, it will use this RUNE just like the protocol owned liquidity TCY. It will take this RUNE and buy back TCY from the pool to keep it now in the contract. So every single day that RUNE yield is paid out, this RUNE is buying yet more TCY, and hopefully the idea is that over 50%, maybe closer to 80% of TCY is either in the Auto Compound or using the yield for the protocol owned TCY, such that there's this enormous amount of programmatic, dependable, price indiscriminate buy pressure. So yeah, that it's going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to having that live with the Auto Ruggira guys.
Yeah, I don't think I appreciated the sTCY nature of it, as I've tried to understand it. Even as you described it, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it a little bit. I've taken some of the RUNE and converted it back into TCY opportunistically, because I for the similar reason. But I'm not. It's a little bit different than the exact flow that you described there. So thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, and then the problem with that, I don't know how much TCY you hold, and feel free not to tell me. But the problem is if you're a small TCY holder and you want to do this that you're doing manually, you're going to get killed in gas fees, because every day you're paying 0.02 RUNE to make that swap.
Mm-hmm.
So by participating in the contract does one big swap for everybody in the contract. So you're saving on gas fees. Made it, you won't it's just gonna DCA your yield, RUNE yield into TCY over the long run, and it's a way to interact, to have your TCY interact with Ruggira without losing on the yield. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. And again, it's one more reason why TCY cannot just be unplugged. It's gonna be part of Ruggira. It's gonna be locked up and held up, and in central exchanges as well. Eventually, probably. Not that I'm saying we're talking with anyone. I hate sexes, but it might happen. It will likely happen if TCY continues to perform. So you cannot just go and plug it out, especially since it's sustainable. And going back to why THORFi collapsed. Well, it was very reflexive to RUNE, and there was a point when RUNE went so low that it became such a high risk that all of the pooled assets just disappeared. All the exogenous assets would go, and now we're left out without the cow that gives milk every day, right? You don't want to kill the cow, so you want to keep the cow alive and its cash flows. So that's why THORFi collapsed. Whereas conversely with TCY, it's a percentage of swap fees. It's a variable thing. It's a sustainable thing. If swap fees are pretty high, great, or to pay more to TCY. So low, we just less too. Very sustainable thing over the long run.
Yeah.
Now it never will pose an existential risk to THORChain. You never will. Thus, there's no incentive for anyone to stop it.
Yeah, that's a huge feature. As I tried to explain to my wife what had happened, and she's like, "This is just Celsius again, isn't it? You dumb husband of mine." I said, "No, but there's actually a real business here, and that's I think that the real business, the swaps and everything else, is really what carried the day." And feel free to interrupt me if there's other questions. I'll try to just step down, or you can kick me off after this one, however you see fit. But do you anticipate, as large bag holders in TCY accrue more RUNE, that they are going to look to become to bond that RUNE into nodes, or do you think that they'll be looking to do more of the compounded sTCY type of approach?
If you bought hundreds of dollars for TCY, in let's say you had the $1,000 RUNE, and you want to add that TCY in that would 100,000 RUNE back to the bond take up a lot of time. So I think that's like a strategy people are thinking. I would say people are either looking to get RUNE every day to kind of diversify out of TCY and then sell it whenever TCY price is attractive. They're going to be trading TCY against RUNE according to the yield, right? If yield for validators balloons to 20%, I do think people are going to rotate from TCY to RUNE. But also the other way, if APY for TCY starts going up.
As he dials back in, I mean, he stepped up on behalf of a community where he wasn't, where he represented a competitor. I mean, there's few people in this world quite like him. So I'm certainly very grateful to what he did. And the proposals, I read competing proposals. His was substantially a substantial improvement over anything else anyone had come up with. So really, really unique guy. Very grateful for him.
Yeah, totally,
and the
agree.
node operators who voted for him, right? It's like super unique. I mean, you saw like Galaxy, Voyager, Celsius, those people weren't leaning over backwards to help each other out during all those meltdowns, unlike what we saw out of Maya protocol helping the THORChain protocol out. And the fact that he's even here today is pretty cool, and continuing to contribute at the level that he is. Really neat.
Thinking back, and yeah, thank you again for the kind words. We just really believe in what we got here. It's a light we cannot let go out. So appreciate people like you being so understanding. It's kind of sucks that you got your second incident with insolvencies, and I know it's tough, and I know it's frustrating, and I know it's scary. But thank you for being such a gentleman about it and being so supportive, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sweet, right? Thanks for coming up on stage, Rob. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to hop off, guys. Unfortunately,
We're just wrapping it up.
Yeah, but it's been super cool. Thanks, H. As always, man. Who's going to VidCon Vegas, by the way, guys?
Woo! ShapeShift will be there, and my protocol should be integrated hopefully before we go. So we'll be. I'm hoping
that'd be rad. Well, then this time I'm gonna tend to the booth again, but this time with representing Maya too. Wherever was fun.
Well, I'll see you there, and I'll get you a drink. And if any of you else is in the audience and going to Bitcoin Vegas, feel free to stop by the THORChain or Maya Protocol spot, and you'll probably see a lot of the people here that you heard today on the mic. And
thanks so much, man.
You're more than my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the space, Alex. I'm at time too. I gotta bounce. If you guys have any more comments, questions, concerns, feel free to tag Alex. Feel free to tag ShapeShift. Feel free to tag anyone. We're all in this together. We're all trying to get through this together, and we are successfully getting through it together. And it does take a village. It takes a village of absolute chads to do it. And I appreciate everyone for coming by and hanging out with me, and Alex and Tim and everyone for an hour. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I'll check you later. If you want to check out TCY, how to trade, earn, stake, all that jazz, app.shapeshift.com. Yeah, it's really, really great interface. And if I'm biased, sorry. Building app.shapeshift.com. If you have any feedback on how to make it better, I would love to hear that feedback as well. And there's many other interfaces you can check out as well if you want to choose a different flavor of THORChain and more. As always, thank you for coming. I appreciate you all, and I will chat with you on the flip side. GM friends.